This tutorial is to help you to use the Teach It page to design an activity for the website. Starting off, you'll need this web address. Once you've put that web address in, all of the activities can go right onto this page. Our first one today is going to be designed for a third grade classroom. And when you slide down here, we're going to scroll the page down, you'll notice a few important details. First of all, it says to please have all of your text resources and files ready to begin. You'll also need to have a copy of the Connecticut Social Studies Framework. A link to the document is here. When you click on this, it will open in a new tab. I've already opened the tab here, and I have it open to the third grade Social Studies Framework. And here you'll notice there's some of the compelling questions. Also, the strands that connect back to the Common Core are listed at the beginning of the grade 3 section. I'm going to keep this open because I'm going to need this later on for my activity. Going back to this tab for the activity, one of the first things it's going to ask you to do is come up with a title. This you might want to save for last, but don't forget to include it. You might not know exactly what to put for your activity, and that's fine. Just start off with the basics. In this case, this article is going to be about a historic map, a map of Hartford. So we're going to entitle it Hartford Then and Now. If you're not really sure what to put in there, if you hover over the box, you'll notice that a gray pop-up box will appear on the side. This should help guide you as to the content. Just to put this in a frame of reference for you, I've opened up a copy of the map that's going to be the basis of the activity. It's found on the Library of Congress website, and I've enlarged it here. This colonial Hartford map is one of the first ones that's documented of the city of Hartford, before it was even a city. Over time, the students will have a chance to look at this map and compare it to some modern-day maps throughout the course of the activity. So going back to the activity, since we've chosen the title, we also know this is an activity for grade 3, a Connecticut and local history activity. Going back to the frameworks, you can find what theme of grade 3 will connect to this particular activity. There's a drop-down menu here, and there are 5 options for the grade 3. There are different options depending on the grade level that you choose. In this case, because we're looking at the geography and economic development and social and political development of Connecticut, we're going to choose the 4th one down. Okay, sometimes there's more than one theme that will work. We just choose one that's the best. In addition, underneath that, we're going to put in some of the key terms that may be searchable through the Teach It website. For example, I might want to just do a search for map, and this should show up, or Pequot. In this case, the map is actually called the Pioneer Map of Hartford, so I included the words Pioneer and Hartford, but I also put in colonial because that's often the word that would be used for this age of a map. Underneath this are the compelling question or questions that you might want to use. If you're unsure about a compelling question, go back to the framework document over here, and you'll notice one of the questions is, how does our town or city contribute to Connecticut's history? There's some additional ones too that will also connect back. So just be selective in the types of questions that you think would drive your activity. I'm going to move back to this document, and you're going to see this one's also slightly different. Earlier in that same framework document, is another question that tied together the past and the present, and so I chose that one for the students to use. Again, if you're not sure, there's information that comes up on the side. In addition to the main compelling question, there are sometimes some supporting questions that can help guide students to that compelling question. And these 3 were chosen from the frameworks. You do not have to necessarily choose a specific question from the frameworks. However, these are designed specifically to help teachers to use the framework, so it would be easier both for you and also for the teachers who are searching for ways to incorporate the frameworks into their classroom. So these 3 questions are added as supporting questions. Now, this is where it gets a little bit tricky. If you scroll down here, it asks for items for your toolkit. There's another drop-down menu here. You have different ways you can do it. You can upload them as individual resources, but in order to do that, you're going to have either JPEG files or PDF files of the specific documents. Those may or may not be readily available to you. In this case, I'm going to upload in a list an attached Word PDF file. So what I did was I'm going to select this, and then in my Word documents, I compiled the links to the specific images. So that map that we looked at, the one that's the map of Hartford, the link to it is here, and then an enlarged version is here. So I included both links so the Teach It website can choose which one they'd like to include, or possibly even both. You'll also notice I gave a little bit of background about Hartford itself. This little paragraph can serve as supplementary information that can go along with the document. In addition, there's some additional pieces that will help the students to be able to expand on that particular colonial map. And another map that came out in 1636 is called the Colonial Hartford Map. And this one references some of the native peoples. This one does as well, but this one very clearly it shows where some of the native peoples are in the area of Hartford. And in addition to that, there is a map that was produced from UConn's Magic Center, which took multiple maps over time and overlaid them on top of each other. So students can literally click through the ages and see how the communities and the neighborhoods developed over time. Since I have saved this as a document entitled Pioneer Map of Hartford for article for Teach It, I'm going to go back to my article and I'm going to choose the file. I'm going to go, in this case I saved it to my desktop. Select the document and open it. And now it's attached to the file. The file is attached to the site. Now it's asking to come up with the activity. What actions are students going to take to help explore that compelling question? It asks you here to be brief and to the point when you do this. It says no more than a paragraph, and what I did is there's actually two activities that are here, so I have them separated out with just with the space in between. Farther down, this is the communicating conclusion section, and in the frameworks it's also called the taking informed action. So in this case, how are students going to use these maps to communicate their understanding? It may or may not be an essay. In fact, we almost would prefer it not to be something like an essay. Find another way that students can communicate their conclusions without it being something that's necessarily a written task. It could be a physical task. Students can work on something together or produce a product that they present together. Consider that before you decide to do a written assignment. Take a look at this one. We have talking about mapping out the neighborhood. Again, this is for third grade and we're testing their mapping skills. So we may want to have them design a map either of their neighborhood or even a map to and from school, or maybe even the landmarks within your local communities. In addition, if you have any additional artifacts or articles, websites, cultural sites, things that directly relate to your activity, please do the same thing like you did for the for your Word document. In this case, this was the Pioneer Map one, but I made a separate document which has some additional information. For example, this Founders of Hartford site has gone around Hartford and found all the monuments in the city and taken photographs of them and transcribed the writing on them so students could see them. This one also talks about how a state archaeologist can help us learn about the past from the artifacts that may have been left behind. In addition, Hartford was based on the Connecticut River, so here's some interesting information about the Connecticut River history. So these sites may be helpful as well. So we're going to go back to the site. I'm going to choose that file. I'm going to attach it. And now we can see that it's attached here. Make sure you put your name, your email address, your school if you'd like to include that information on there, and if you want to have that information attributed to your organization, hit yes. If you want it to be anonymous, hit no. To still fill out this information above so that we know that you have completed it if we have any questions so we can contact you. But once you've done that, you may hit submit and then you are done. If you have any questions about this process, or if you get hung up in any of the points of it, please feel free. At the top of the form is the website, or the email address, excuse me, connecticuthistory@cthumanities.org. Please feel free to contact us if you have any questions or problems with the site. I hope to see your activity, and we look forward to seeing you soon.